I always made a living doing things in filmmaking, which improved my craft. I got better. I always learned, blah, blah, blah. Too many of the filmmakers that I see have day jobs, and that bothers me.
Absolutely.
Why not have your day job in this business?
Because it doesn't exist yet, man. I mean, with enough ifs, a monkey can lift an elephant, is the old saying, right? If this happened, if that happened, we'd all be, you know.
But they're all making all this content. It's all over Vimeo. It's awesome. It's like, package it a little better. Walk into somebody's door and say, look I want to play this on your website.
We are inventing the model right now.
Well, the advantage that it has over TV is this ability to narrow cast. So it isn't this whole principle of throwing a bunch of shit up against the wall and seeing what sticks. It's like really target your audience and understand your audience and don't waste time or resources or money around the audience that isn't appeal to. And that's what the web has, I think, is that choice and that option. And I think distribution gravitates that.
They still view web video as YouTube. It's a 30-second clip, it's a minute clip. They don't view it as something that can be real content. They view it as something where someone emails it to you, it's a funny clip, ah ha ha, and they email it on. It's not a show that people will turn into weekly. And that's the problem you have to do. I mean, especially in Chicago alone, I mean, you talk about online video to anyone in Chicago that's not in online video, and they're staring at you blankly, like, what the hell are you talking about? We heard that's kind of cool, maybe we can do that in a few years. You have to get people to finally accept online video as a true medium for people to distribute stuff, and it's still not at that point yet. It's getting close, but it's not there yet.
Well, another thing with YouTube is it's like you throw it away. You put your content on there and then that's it. I met this kid at a film festival not that long ago who had done some sort of Star Wars thing in his basement. Amazing, this kid was doing it on his own machine or whatever. Put it up on YouTube and got like millions and millions of hits. And he was thrilled. But that's all he's got, 1 million hits on YouTube. You can't monetize that. You can't turn that into another product that's actually going to be funded.
I don't know. I'm a businessman. I turn everything into money. That's my job. I mean, in the early 80s, I was talking about this earlier, we had an idea. We want to make these videos that are going to play at what we call the point of purchase. And at that time, that was not a word that was used. And one of the manufacturers said to me, Steve, he's like, does Marshall Fields have a TV and a video recorder, which was a relatively new thing at that time? And we're like, no, we're going to rent them and we're going to put them in there. And he believed in us. He was like, okay, let's do it. I mean, what I'm saying here is so much closer than when we were there. We rented 250 monitors and video recorders and put them in department stores around the country. That was way out. Now it's a joke to say that. You walk in and you're inundated with 5,000 monitors. I'm telling you right now, within a year, you're going to see websites that have webisodic programming.
Of course, we're doing it right now.
No, but what I'm talking about, like, that can compete with television.
Well, HBO started doing it. I mean, they started testing their shows on HBO Online, and they have a big push to start HBO broadband.
Okay, but I'm talking about companies. Like, okay, so here you go. You get millions of people that come to your website. Fabulous. Do you know if you walked into a Gap or a GM or one of these companies that says, I could bring millions of people to your website, those people, their jaw would fall down.
They're going to still see you as a website and they're not going to fully respect you. Most people, when you talk to them and say you're doing online media, they're not going to give you the full respect that you would get if you say you were in television or anything like that. It's still kind of like the redheaded stepchild.
The reason there's still this ooh factor thing with TV is that you think that it's past some sort of quality control, that there's gatekeepers or whatever involved in that step, whereas when you go on the web and you watch content, it's kind of the Wild West. Anyone can put anything up, it doesn't matter. So it's like, how do you sift through all this shit to get to what you actually...
It's got to be good.
Right, and they have to stand apart. But now, like, equipment is so available, getting good equipment isn't as complicated.
There are guys that are good and there are guys that stink. There's not a lot at the top, man. That's life.
I think what his point is basically saying that at least in television or in film, there's an unconscious idea that whatever I'm about to watch has been through a number of channels. It's been through producers and editors and people at the network screaming about it and bitching about it and whatnot, and therefore what I'm going to see, it's going to be made in a more professional manner.
You're not going to the Gap and saying, here's my show, put it on your thing, and it's crap. It's got to compete with television. And then down the road, I think that the web, to me, is going to be what's called a pre-television device, where you can create content at a lower cost on the web. You put it on a website wherever you want to get it to where you can get a funder to fund it. If you own that content, you could go to television potentially and say, look, I've already got 5 million viewers.
But why would you want to put on television and lose all your control? You're going by their standards now. The web is a whole different area.
Television is live events. A Super Bowl, we're always going to want to watch it live. But like for the vast majority of the content that we digest, it's coming out today. I watch it in the morning. I watch it in the evening. Doesn't matter as long as I can watch it today and then talk about it tomorrow at work with my buddies at the water cooler. That's the most important thing.
I would agree with you.
And as soon as that pipe is created, a conduit that'll actually get it onto your home TV device, television as we know it is done.
That's a potential future, but you also have to think that the people over there in the TV land,
oh, they're fighting it tooth and nail.
They're going to come up with schemes. They're just like we're coming up with schemes right here. They got to be coming up with schemes because they don't want to lose.
The same ideas. So you look at all the shows now. Everything is a carbon copy of one another. They can't come up with anything unique anymore.
Yeah. Well,
it's either reality or CSI freaking Oklahoma. There's nothing new.
I would agree with you, but that is the TV. The TV model when you get something that works, you churn 50 out until people don't watch it anymore, and then you come out with something else. I mean, that's their.
We found out like with Prep Wire and with this part of the high school sports show that we've been doing for donkey's years now. When we had it at NBC, it wasn't that they didn't like the content. It wasn't that the content wasn't popular. It was that their sales staff didn't know how to sell it. They didn't get it. This was 2 or 3 years ago. They didn't like, okay, it's web content. Where do we put the advertising? We're like, we put it before each clip. We put it under a little lower third that pops up. We put it on the page around the actual information. The sales staff that have been selling television advertising for years just couldn't get it. They just didn't get it. And now Hulu's on the scene. Things are starting to change where these guys are actually realizing that, look, not only do we know that we're getting more views online, but we actually understand how we can sell it, how we can package the advertising around it, how we can put advertising in the content or put it around the content and still make money. So these sorts of things are organically, I hate to use the word, but changing as we speak. But you can't just walk into Gap and be like, I got 1 million views on your website or my website and like, and expect them to be like, all right, let's sign a contract.
I would, but you
would be crazy to do that.
I've been doing that my whole life. Everybody says I'm crazy, and I'm fine with that. That you can do it, and I don't even think you need any views. I think you could walk in and say, look, this is the concept I want. I think that it appeals to the people that come to your website. If it's thought out, somebody is going to do it, and they are going to bite. But they need to really embrace the social networking, the things that we ran around here at the beginning of this conversation. There will be people that will do this. I personally think that the independent filmmakers are the people to do it. Find a business partner where you're like you, a business partner and a creative person, and merge the thing into a package and walk it into a place. Josh Gooden, he's a 17-year-old kid that we gave one of our awards to because he is doing this. He's actually making a program and sticking it on a website and building a discussion video around it.
How is he making money?
He's a 17-year-old kid. He doesn't need to make money.
My partner was just talking about this kid who started making videos when he was in high school. He like sped up the footage so it's kind of goofy high voice or whatever.
That guy need to be. He's a top subscribed guy. Fred or something.
Oh, Fred, yeah.
Fred.
I watched that with my kid.
Now he's making money, and that's a great example of how you can use YouTube to create an audience and then actually monetize that content eventually. I mean, it's a tool. What you're doing is exactly the same thing. You're spreading your videos all over the place. There's Vimeo, YouTube, and Facebook, and they're all over the place, whatever. But you're not actually monetizing the content. The content itself is a vehicle to,
build your brand.
Build a brand, create a conversation with people who are interested in what you might be. And that's perfect, man. That's a perfect example. This is something that I will go into my clients and say, look at what this dude is doing for his company.
I mean, you need a business partner. You can't walk in there as a crazy filmmaker and do this. I've always had business partners, and as a team, we figure it out.
I mean, we're doing it. We're creating content that's about a specific thing, whether it's golf or high school sports or the gay and lesbian community or whatever it might be. We're creating content around those communities, and then we're presenting it in a vehicle that can actually be distributed and shared online. And now, once it's all been built, you have to build this whole thing first. Right. Then you walk into the store and say, hey, look, do you want to put some advertising in front of it? Do you want to get involved in this? Do you want this content to live on your site to draw people in? There's multiple ways to monetize the content after you've created the vehicle to distribute it.
First off, I just want to say that what you're doing and what you're doing I think is phenomenal, okay? I'm not saying my model is the model.
It's a great model.
But what's wonderful here today is that we have multiple models, and all I get are emails of people saying, what is the model? What is the model? Every other day they're like, what is the model? And what I tell them is the model is it changes every 3 months.
Right.
Yeah.